Hello everyone, and welcome to the Service and Hospitality Safety Association's Journey Management episode. My name is Lisa Chavity, and I'm a safety advisor at the SHSA. Today we're on location at the SARC office in Saskatoon, and I have two special guests with me today, Sydney and Trent. And to get started, Sydney, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about SARC?
Sure thing. My name is Sydney Smith, and I do communications here at SARC. SARC is a provincial association that serves its members all across the province. We have services for people with disabilities, as well as supporting our members in training, consultation, services, and leadership. We offer 2 conferences a year for our members, and we're also the parent organization of SARC and Recycling.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Trent, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Trent Fletcher, and I'm the Manager of Occupational Health and Safety for SARC, and I look after everything safety, health, and wellness for SARC.
Perfect, thank you. And just as a reminder, the information that we'll be going over today is specific to SARC organization. So if you are looking to implement any of these things into your organization, please do a full hazard assessment and training as well. So to start off with, Sydney, would you be able to tell us what the goal of Journey Management is?
Certainly. So we have depots and member associations all across the province. So we think that journey management is really important for our organization. As the ultimate goal is making sure that our employees come back home in the exact condition that they left. So whether it's through a snowstorm or through sunny roads, we want to make sure that our employees start their trip and end the trip feeling good, safe, and sound.
Awesome, thank you. So with all of that, we're going to dive into some information. So our first topic for today is methods of travel and planning before you head out. And Trent is going to tell us a little bit about the different types of travel that SARC uses.
Usually we use our own vehicle for travel, but on occasion we'll rent a vehicle, and on less occasionally we'll use a taxi. On the rare event that we do travel by air, we make sure to check out the resources on the Transport Canada website prior to traveling.
Great. And so for your employees who use their personal vehicle, what are some steps that they follow when they are heading out?
I think some of the most important things is to make sure that aside from having a reliable vehicle, that you're well rested,
Yes.
and you allow yourself enough time to reach your destination safely, taking all the weather conditions into account and the fact that they can change really quick, especially in this province.
Yes, that is very true. So what types of questions can your employees ask themselves before they head out?
First of all, is the vehicle that you've chosen reliable, whether it's a rental vehicle or your own vehicle? Have you done a circle check of the vehicle and checked for the different components and the brakes, making sure that everything is working good,
Yes.
whether it's a rental vehicle or your own vehicle?
Right.
And do you have an emergency road kit? What's going to happen if in the event that you do have an incident or an accident? Are you ready to handle anything that's unexpected that comes along?
Right.
And are you dressed appropriately? Or if you aren't, do you at least have the necessary clothes and stuff that'll keep you safe and warm in the event that you do end up in the ditch or something like that? So.
Right. So that is a lot of items for pre-planning. What are some safe driving tips that you would like to let everyone know about?
Well, I think like driving defensively, which regardless of whether you're driving for work or for pleasure, is always the rules of the road are the same. They don't change.
Right.
So it's important to take those into account. We highly recommend people look at the SGI's driver's handbook on their website. It's full of information, and it's a great resource. We recommend people look at that or access that information. And aside from that, is making sure that people are just well rested and that they're not, or that they're aware when they're driving.
Right. Yeah, those are really important tips to remember. And just one more thing I'd like to point out, you did mention a roadside kit, and the SHSA does have a free poster with some items for a winter roadside kit. So these are items that you could add into your existing roadside kit, just some little extras for the winter months. And as well, we had talked about some safe driving tips, but what about when you're driving alone?
Well, I think making sure that someone knows where you're going. You're not the only person that knows, and that it's also known not just where you're going, but when you're going to arrive.
Yes.
And so having a contact person identified prior to leaving is important, so that in the event that something unforeseen happens, that you can deal with it effectively and safely.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for that. We are moving on to our rental car safety. So what are some things to be aware of when you're renting a vehicle?
Well, I think taking into account that every vehicle is different, even if it's the same type of vehicle that you drive, it's going to have a different feel to it. So making sure that you're familiar with the vehicle that you're getting into, that you're using a reputable rental company, that you know all their contact information in case you lose your keys or something goes wrong with the vehicle. Also with that is adjusting the mirrors, the seat. It's not going to be fit for you yet. You've got to make it a fit for you and allow enough time to get comfortable operating the vehicle.
Yes.
And and recognize that you aren't going to be as comfortable, and you want to be aware, so you have to take some time and allow yourself that.
Right, and we mentioned things about distracted driving, so that's something you don't want to be adjusting when you're already driving, so to have that all done beforehand.
And I think whether you're driving a personal vehicle or a rental vehicle, is like distracted driving is a big thing, and we often think of texting as distracted driving, but there's so many other things that are classed as distractions while you're driving. Could be adjusting the radio, the temperature in the vehicle, or
all the things that we don't really think about. It just seems sort of second nature to us as well. And are there any more specific items that we should look for once we're in the vehicle?
Some of the more specific things that we should look for is if we're traveling, we're probably going to have luggage with us, or we're carrying equipment. So it's making sure that the equipment is stowed away in a safe manner, that it is stable. Also that the driver isn't overcrowded. Or the passengers.
So Trent, you mentioned on some occasions your employees do require the use of a taxi. Would you mind going over some of the safety tips for taxi use?
In the event that we do use a taxi, it's important that you check to make sure that it's a reputable company, and that you get a receipt afterwards. So in case there's some discrepancies, you can follow up, for instance, if you're going to a hotel, and know the address of where you're going.
That is important to kind of know which direction you're going, even is good if you're in a different city from your own. So those are some really good tips to remember when using a taxi. And we're actually going to head over to the hotel now and meet up with Sydney for some hotel safety. Well, as you can see, we are in a hotel room now at the beautiful Sheraton Cavalier here in Saskatoon. And Sydney's going to walk us through a bit of hotel safety right from when you walk in the door until you get into the hotel room. So I'm going to let her take it away.
Sure thing. So when we travel, we often end up staying in a hotel, and there's some basic things that you can think about when you're arriving. When you come in, often it's at night. We highly recommend that people park in a well-lit area and as close to the door as possible. Once you check in and once you're in the lobby, be really careful of where you are, because the lobby is a public space. And anyone can kind of come and go. There's no particular room key or anything you need just to be in the lobby. So we always tell people to make sure not to discuss personal business, their name, give out any information. Someone asks some questions, you can be polite but also not answer all of their information. So just making sure when you're in the lobby that you're keeping a good awareness of where you are and your surroundings. So once you're checking in, it's really common when you check into a hotel front desk that someone's going to ask for your name or say your room number out loud. If that makes you uncomfortable, if there's someone nearby that you're concerned about or there's something that could go wrong, it's okay to just silently show your ID, let them get the name that way. When you're using your credit card, if they ask for it for incidentals, put it away right away. Don't leave your ID or your credit card out. Don't say your name out loud. If anything that happens makes you feel uncomfortable, it's okay to ask the hotel staff and just to make sure that you're safe when you get to your room. So
you want to feel comfortable when you're going through that whole process, just to ensure that you're not showing too much personal information when you're checking in.
Absolutely. And it's really common that people will just say your name without even thinking behind the desk, and you can just remind them, if you feel uncomfortable, that keep your name and your personal information not out loud. When you're actually getting to your room, we recommend that you use an elevator as opposed to the stairwell. Stairs are more comfortable and probably a little bit more healthy for you, but at the same time, the elevator is safer, especially when you're coming at night. The elevators are always located right off the main lobby, so it's well lit, it's bright. People see you. Sometimes stairwells can go into a back alley or a parking lot. You might get turned around. They can be dark. The other thing is, if there's someone in that stairwell, you necessarily aren't aware of it, whereas the elevator is
you can see right away.
Yeah, exactly. And when you're in an elevator, another tip that I would recommend too is just to make sure that you are kind of towards the back and as close to the panel as possible, so that you can press the emergency button if you need. There's usually a phone. Have your phone on you if not. The other thing is, if there's someone suspicious on that elevator, don't get off at your floor if you're concerned. You can throw them off the scent, so to speak, if you go to a different floor, wait till that person gets off, then go back to your floor. So it's all about just being aware of your surroundings.
Yeah, again, it's that personal awareness, like checking your surroundings, assessing what's happening before you proceed to your room.
Exactly. And I guess the biggest thing is, if you do feel uncomfortable for some reason, just don't proceed. Just, it's easier to go up a couple extra floors and come back down than it is to be worried. So,
right.
Yeah.
Sure.
So once you get to your room, we recommend that you look around you as well in the hallway. You never know when someone's going to come out of a corner or through the stairwell or something like that. So we recommend that you just kind of keep your eye out, when you're checking when you walk in. Once you walk in for the first time, it's important to actually check out the room as well. Check behind the shower, check in the closet, pretend you're a 7-year-old looking for monsters.
All of those kind of out of the way places that you wouldn't necessarily go to right away when you first come into your room, but that you would want to look in those out of the way places.
And the big one, closets, showers, under the bed, things like that. Just make sure that the room is exactly how you want it. Another thing that's important too is, once you're in the room, to lock the deadbolt or the privacy latch. Even though you're in the room, you would expect that someone would obviously see you if you came in. It's better just to not have them come in at all. Just keep it locked, keep it safe.
Exactly.
Usually when you go to do that lock, there's a map on the back of the door that explains where the fire exit is, so take note of that as well. It's one of those things that we don't think about, because when we're sleeping soundly safe at night and all of a sudden there's a fire, it's best to know exactly what your secure route out is.
Well, and in a situation like that too, it might be darker than normal if some of the lights have gone out. If there is smoke, it'll be a lot harder to discern where those exits are. So to know ahead of time and to kind of have that map in your head is good before an emergency situation does happen.
Absolutely. So the best way to avoid something happening is to be totally aware of your surroundings. So that's a part of it as well. Beyond kind of looking for people, it's making sure you know where you are in the hotel, how to get out of the hotel if necessary. Hopefully it won't be necessary. Another thing that's important too is, once you're in the room and you're comfortable, check and make sure the phone works. We all have our own cell phones, but you never know. Something could happen. You could lose your phone. It could not be working for some reason. So make sure that phone in the room works too.
Yeah, those are all really important things, and something that, even if you've stayed at a hotel many times before, you might not think of right away. So it's always good to have these reminders, for people who don't necessarily travel as much.
And a lot of it just becomes second nature after you've traveled in a hotel for a little while. You think to do those things just off the top of your head, which is really good. So when you leave the hotel, that's another way you got to think about your safety. Lots of hotels have safes, and it's usually one of those systems where you can punch in a code yourself that you are the only one who has the access to it. So anything valuable like laptops, that kind of thing, it's always good to lock up jewelry when you can. If you lose your room key or it's stolen from you, make sure you let the front desk know. You might think that you just dropped it, but you never know. Sometimes hotels will actually have the little envelopes to hold the cards that say the room number on them. If you lose that, that's not good. So the hotel front desk staff is always really accommodating to make sure that you can get your room keys reset if you need to, or anything like that. So
Yeah, and that's something too that's good to remember as well. If sometimes you leave the room key in the little piece of paper that has the number on it, so it's always good to be conscious of that as well.
Absolutely. And just making sure that the room is safe when you leave it, when you come into it as well, by doing all those checks and just making sure that everything around you is comfortable. And you know what? You're going to sleep more soundly too. There is the benefit that once you've got all those safety checks in your head, you can kind of take a deep breath, close your eyes, and know that you're safe and sound in your room.
Yes, exactly. Well, thank you very much for those great reminders.
Thanks.
And now to finish things off for you today, Sydney's going to take us through some just general safety tips.
So when we travel, I think it's really important to remember that we need to be comfortable, well-rested, and then we're more inclined to make those right decisions.
Yes, for sure.
So take the time that you need. Traveling is hectic. You have a lot on the go. You have to get gas. You have to charge your phone. You have to do all these things. But really take the time to make sure that you've done all that, because it's important. The best way to react is safely and soundly. So be aware that possible situations could come up, but also be aware that you're on the road, you need to make impulse decisions. When you leave, make sure you tell someone. When you get back, make sure you let your employer know that you're back so that someone is aware that you've gone, that you've come back. When you're traveling with coworkers, make sure that your coworker is an active passenger as well, watching for deer if need be. If you're the passenger, do the same. When you're at the hotel, just use your best judgment. That's really our best. That's our best foot forward, is when we use our judgment to make sure that we can be safe. So if there's something that's making you uncomfortable, don't be afraid to let the hotel staff know. When you're back in your car on the way home, stay safe, be well rested. If you're not well rested, take some time to just relax and feel like you're ready to take it on.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today, and a special thank you to everyone at SARC and the Sheraton Cavalier in Saskatoon. You can find more information on our website. It's www.servicehospitality.com. And if you have any specific questions, please email us at info@servicehospitality.com. Thanks again, and have a great day.